Lin was curious about what kind of forbidden realm Zhao Kongcheng was. But what he didn't expect was that Zhao Kongcheng didn't have any forbidden realm level, because he didn't have a forbidden realm at all. He only joined the Night Watch with strong combat experience and strict training. But there are 3 ways to obtain forbidden realms. The first is to be born with forbidden realms. The second is to use the item that carries forbidden realms. And the third is through gifting by God. Under normal circumstances, there is only 1 agent per god. However, the corresponding agents will also receive instructions from the gods. At present, all the agents of gods are trying to destroy human society. The agents of evil gods who want to return the world to chaos. They founded an organization to fight against the Night Watch. It is called Church of the Ancient Gods. And the purpose of saying so much, I just want to investigate. As the agent of Seraphim Michael, Lin. Whose side is he on? The second is to get Lin to join the human side organization. Lin said at this time, I don't know what Michael wants to do. Even if he gives an order, I want to do it. Because Lin had no intention of getting involved in such a mess from the beginning. After saying that, he stood up and was about to leave. Lin was about to leave, but Zhao Kongcheng grabbed him. He had to keep Lin no matter what. From an interesting training career, to a passionate military spirit, to generous benefits. Although Zhao Kongcheng's speech is very tempting and noble, but Lin is still determined, because he still has family members who need to be protected and accompanied. Aunt and cousin are his last relatives in the world. Aunt thought Lin couldn't see it before. Always endured the pain alone. Although the cousin is very smart, but he is still too young. Now Lin has returned to normal. Must take on the responsibilities of this family as soon as possible. After listening, Zhao Kongcheng grinned. Finally sighed, I'll let you go. I thought things were too simple. Then Lin waved goodbye. Thank you for telling me so many secrets. I'll sign it. After returning home, Lin found something extra. He picked it up and found it. It turned out to be the badge from that strange uncle. There was a clear text printed on it. If the dark night falls one day, I will stand in front of countless others. Draw the sword towards the monster abyss. And let the sky stain with blood. What did Nyx hear? She dropped the child in her hand to the ground. It turned out that Lin, who had just fallen asleep, dreamed of returning to the mental hospital, beginning to treat the mental illness of the goddess of the night, Nyx, after spending a lot of time. It is certain that the goddess of the night does have many children, including the god of death and the god of space, the goddess of fate and the god of doom, etc. If I want to heal her, I could only start with something close to her. At this time, the goddess of night holding a ceramic jar suddenly mentioned a name. That was his eldest son, death god Donatos. Nyx has not seen his eldest son for 3,000 years. This is very touching for Lin, who lost his parents when he was young. Although Nyx is a high-ranking creator god, she is also a poor mother. Suddenly, Lin seemed to think of something. Then he slowly walked towards Nyx, looking at Nyx kneeling on the ground. What would happen if I followed her ideas? Lin hugged Nyx in her arms. Lin whispered to her, Mother, I am back. The moment she heard it, Nyx was stunned at first. Tears flowed down her cheeks unconsciously. The jar in her hand fell to the ground. She is holding Lin tightly, fearing that he would leave again. And Lin felt Nyx's presence at this time. He felt mixed emotions. Ding, system treatment progress reaches 3%. Seeing that the treatment progress has finally made progress, Lin can't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Progress reaches the requirements. You can randomly obtain one of Nyx's divine abilities. With his unlucky constitution, the strongest divine skill is definitely impossible. And the divine skill of the Story Night Dancer that he drew is not bad. At least it's not the extraordinary divine realm. The next moment, Nyx handed a bowl of medium rare beef to Lynn. The moment Lynn reached out and touched it, I only felt a magical energy. I was constantly transforming my body. It was a cleansing from the soul to the body. After possessing the power of the Creator, the night is his home. In the night, all his abilities would increase exponentially. This way, Lynn had the initial ability to protect himself. Nyx, who was standing next to him, also handed him a bottle of medicine. She said it was from her brother, Hypnos. But when he took it and looked at it, he was stunned. It turned out to be the miracle drug Flupentixel. That is to say, there is a miracle drug in the hospital. Lynn comforted Nyx and turned to leave. He came to a door. He pushed it open with both hands. A warehouse full of medicines came into view. Lynn was stunned by so many medicines. The piercing alarm clock at dawn brought him back to reality. I spent most of the night helping Nyx find medicine. But fortunately, I got a divine skill. It was a small gain. When I went downstairs, I saw my aunt going to work and saw Lynn coming down. She also reminded him to eat breakfast. Then she turned around and was about to leave as usual. But suddenly she felt something was wrong. Looking back, seeing Lynn was looking at her with his eyes that had recovered. Auntie rushed over and hugged Lynn. All her emotions that had been pent up for 10 years had turned into tears. All of a sudden, they came out. At this moment, Lynn was filled with guilt towards his family. Later, even the cousin, who never gets up early, came over to cheer with Lynn. And here at school, a group of girls were curiously looking at the new classmates in front of them. Lynn, a single boy for 10 years, couldn't resist the gaze and blushed. Only Li Yifei and others were silent. And we don't know when they were thinking about. Xiao Mei was still keeping asking how he did it. He could only reply jokingly, "I accidentally can see things now." After class, Li Yifei and Liu Yuan were on the roof. Then 90 degrees to the man. Bow and apologize. Everyone knows that the jungle rules in reality. You don't need to apologize. It is human nature to run away when in danger. If it were me, I would only be better than you on running faster. Liu Yuan also turned his head and asked, "Did those people also ask you to sign a confidentiality agreement?" After the danger that day, they gave two choices. Either erase the memory or sign a confidentiality agreement. Li Yifei on the side was thinking, how can I join that organization? This made Lin curious. How boring it is to be an ordinary person. Join a mysterious and powerful organization. Fight against the enemies hidden among humans. This is the dream of many men. But in Lin's eyes, he is just a passionate boy. Doesn't he know how to cherish the family around him? Maybe you'll die one day. You can only leave quietly. This made Li Yifei speechless. After school in the afternoon, the sky in the old city was overcast. When Lin returned home, he was still the same as usual. But he was stunned as soon as he looked up. Why is Zhao Kongcheng here? Still sitting in my seat. The boy was obedient and sensible since he was young, but he lost his father at the age of 6. Mother worked day and night. Illness. But he could grow up later. He left his hometown to join the army. When he left, his mother silently watched him go. She can only shed tears. At that time, he secretly decided to make military achievements. One day, his chest will be full of merits. Return home in glory. And the child was Zhao Kongcheng, relying on the locating function on his medal. He found Lin's place. Lin still has no intention of joining the night watch. But at this time, his face was heavy. Because Zhao Kongcheng's experience was very similar to his own. Zhao Kongcheng suddenly took out a stack of 100 yuan bills, put it on the table. called it as compensation for him. But it was rejected by Lin. Said that although we are poor, we have our own bottom line. We will not take the money coming from soldiers that exchanged for their lives. Now my eyes are okay. I have the ability to support our family. And these words also deeply touched Zhao Kongcheng's heart. In Lin, he saw a different self than before. Then he stood up and was about to leave. He walked Zhao Kongcheng downstairs. The heavy rain outside seemed to announce their separation. And two people of different generations. But they secretly influenced each other. Zhao said, "I wish you a bright future." Lin said, "I wish you will be full of achievements one day." At this time, the aunt who was buying groceries from getting off work just came back. Asked who had just spoken to him. Lin replied, "It was just a stranger who passed by to avoid the rain." Just a few steps away, Zhao suddenly received a call from the headquarters. During the communication, he learned the Ghostface King, who was being suppressed and fled last time, is now actually running towards him. And judging from the bloodstains left by the Ghostface King when he fled, it is speculated his target might be the Old City or the city center. Zhao Kongcheng is in the Old City to rescue citizens. It is undoubtedly the most difficult situation. The captain and other team members are in the city center. Do their best to disperse the crowd. Once the Ghostface King appears in the city center, the consequences would be unimaginable. After hearing this, Zhao Kongcheng was not happy. Is it okay to lure monsters there just because there are fewer people in the Old City? He ran to the truck. Although the boundless airspace can play a restrictive role, but if he wants to trap him, he still has to pay a price. What he has to do now is to go to the center of the Old City to check. The Ghostface King is likely to appear there. After a while, he found himself back at Lin's house, thinking that Lin's family should be eating dinner now. Suddenly, he noticed something was wrong. At this time, the air was filled with the stench of corpses, and the sewer next to it was constantly surging, as if it would erupt at the next moment. Zhao Kongcheng knew he had won the prize, and it was the first prize. At this time, the person on the other end of the phone had already made hongying and others came towards him. Zhao Kongcheng knew boundless airspace has no binding effect. If there is no human stays inside the airspace, it can't even trap the Demon King for a minute. Although the communication kept emphasizing, don't fight the Demon King face to face. However, it is too late to evacuate the people now. The next moment, the manhole covered behind Zhao Kongcheng erupted directly. A skull-like head popped out from inside, let out a roar. Remember the oath we once made. Although there are no millions of people behind me this time, but I have the whole world of that child behind me. One person against one ghost. The airwaves emitted by the collision directly isolated the surrounding. He instantly activated the restricted area with a backhand. The blood-red triangular barrier wrapped them in it, then disappeared. Only a pit several meters deep was left. The erected billboard continued to emit the power of the Forbidden Realm. At this moment, the three people at home, still immersed in the celebration of Lin's eye recovery, and also made his favorite braised pork. Suddenly, Lin asked his aunt, "Where did the black dog go?" Aunt said that the dog had been lying on the balcony. "I don't know what it was doing." Lin walked over, just about to touch the black dog, inadvertently, seeing the billboard standing on the road below. He was startled instantly. "Isn't that Zhao Kongcheng's forbidden item?" Lin turned around and told my aunt that I had something to do and left, so I rushed out the door, facing the Ghostface King that came in front of him. But the man was smoking calmly, just because he had a reason not to give in to him. Even if it was a seriously injured monster, it was still a powerful enemy. He was not calculating how to deal with the monster, but how he could still hold on for a few more moves against the monster. After Zhao Kongcheng's violent swordsmanship, he is still unable to cause any damage to the Ghostface King. Even if he used all his strength to strike, he's still unable to break the bone armor. Zhao was blown several meters away before he could stabilize his body. The Ghost Face King realm directly released the Forbidden Realm. This not only shocked Zhao Kongcheng, because this guy released the Ghost Face Earth Elephant of the Forbidden Realm sequence 176 within the Forbidden Realm. It can deceive the perception of all creatures whose realm is less than or equal to itself. In this place, Zhao Kongcheng can only be in the role to take punches. If this continues, he will surely die. At this time, Zhao Kongcheng hurriedly adjusted his breathing. Begin meditation, sensing the position of the Ghost Face King around him. The next Ghost Face King jumped out from behind him. He reacted and hit him with a knife. The moment the two sides collided, Zhao Kongcheng used the force to pull away. In his opinion, as a mythical creature, the Ghost Face King is indeed not something he can defend, and the gap between them lies in the Forbidden Realm. Speaking of this, Zhao Kongcheng slashed the blade into the body of the Ghost Face King. But what he didn't expect was, the blade was stuck. As usual, Zhao Kongcheng was hit again. Blood gushed out unconsciously. At this time, his body had reached its limit. It seemed as if he saw the scene of him standing under the flagpole. Then he was full of vigor in the army. The use of the emblem was to awaken the Forbidden Realm. But the price was to burn his life until the last moment. In his opinion, now was the time to use the last resort. Suddenly, he heard someone outside the prison calling his name. Listen carefully. It turned out to be Lin. He asked him to open the boundless airspace to help. But Lin only got a scolding in response. The Ghost Face King rushed towards Zhao Kongcheng again. At this time, Zhao Kongcheng promised Lin, as long as he was there, this ghost thing can't hurt your family. Lin outside, still trying to destroy the boundless airspace like crazy. Zhao Kongcheng inside was knocked away again. Seeing that he was only breathing his last breath, but he still supported his body with trembling. The next moment, a sound came from the boundless airspace again. You only have one possibility to come in. That is to wait for me to die. Lin stood there silently, seeing that there was no sound outside. Zhao Kongcheng thought that Lin had gone back. Then he lowered his head and pulled off his gloves, picked up the Night Watchman emblem, crushed it, and raised it. Without hesitation, he stabbed it towards his own neck. An advanced force slowly flows into the body, filling Zhao Kongcheng's whole body. The fluctuations around him all have broken through the limits of ordinary humans. Even the Ghost Face King beside him also sensed the dangerous aura. Because the Forbidden Realm Zhao Kongcheng released it this time via the booster is called the Dark Moon. Facing a monster to levels higher than himself, the man was not afraid at all just because he woke up. The Forbidden Realm, Dark Moon. But this power is gained at the cost of his life. The Ghost Face King, who were beating the man to death, was also terrified at this time. It opened the Forbidden Realm to confuse Zhao Kongcheng's perception. But the next moment, he slashed at the Ghost Slayer King with the knife. That instantly cut off one of the Ghost Face King's feet. It fell directly to the ground, let out a painful wail. At this time, Zhao Kongcheng had already transformed into a killing god. The murderous aura all over his body was spreading around. The Ghost of Face King lying on the ground stretched out his hand to lay down the Forbidden Realm. Zhao Kongcheng chopped it down with a knife. The Forbidden Realms were instantly shattered. Even the left hand that the Ghost of Face King stretched out was split in half at this time. The Ghost of Face King was greatly shocked at this time. It didn't expect that Zhao Kongcheng, who awakened the Forbidden Realm, would be so powerful. Just when Zhao Kongcheng was feeling proud, suddenly, a pain came from his heart. Zhao Kongcheng knew that he had little time left. He must fight quickly. Draw out the tetanus blade at his waist. Hit the Ghost Face King, dragging with the broken body. The Ghost Face King are still not yielding to its fate. It roared to greet the sword attack. Both sides fought desperately with all their strength. Suddenly, a punch broke through the blade, smashed Zhao Kongcheng in the chest, throwing Zhao Kongcheng dozens of meters away. But the Ghost-Face King had originally stretched out fists, but he couldn't retract it at this time. The next moment, the arms of the Ghost-Face King stretched out, actually collapsed into pieces of meat. Zhao Kongcheng, who was standing by, laughed at this time, said that we all only have one arm left. This is much fairer. Just when he was about to swing the final blow, the infinite airspace was suddenly broken. Yes, the person who came was Lin. Zhao Kongcheng was also slightly surprised. Ask him how he got in.